everyone, it's Jessie from b.a.r.e Flower Farm, and if you've been following along with me for the past couple of months, you'll know that the last few weeks have been really busy in terms of field prep. So I am a first-year flower farmer, and when I say first year, I mean I just moved into the house with the backyard in which we are farming about a month ago. So we have 3 acres, of which we've cleared a 40 by 90 plot for growing cut flowers. And that's why I haven't had a lot of videos, because I've been spending a lot of time preparing that field. And the good news is that I feel like we're about 60% done. So last compost run for this weekend, we'll get about 2 truckloads worth, be able to lay everything out. And then we need to rent a trencher for irrigation and then fencing, but at least I can grow flowers without all of that. But today I want to talk about getting ready for my first farmer's market, which is literally in about a week and a half, less than a week and a half, May 1st. So today is the Friday and the Friday before the next weekend of the farmer's market. I don't have a single bloom yet, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to do to get around that. But being just a little bit more than a week away from the farmer's market, I have been in the past couple of weeks doing my due diligence in terms of making sure that I am ready for the farmer's market. So as you can see in the background over here, I do have my signage, and it's too floppy and it's too long for me to show it all here. But I have a little clip that shows what it looks like. This came out awesome. I am so stoked for how this looks, and it's falling apart right now on the couch. But the intention for this sign was I wanted it to be cheerful, I wanted it to be colorful, and I wanted it to be eye-grabbing for people who are walking through the farmer's market. So our farmer's market actually mandates that every booth must have a sign. And a part of that reason is because they've noticed that when there aren't signs, vendors complain that no one can find where they are. Well, duh, right? So it was a no-brainer for me to get a sign anyway. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the process about how I got the sign. But this is a 3-foot by 7-foot sign. So most tents are a 10 by 10 tent. So this should take up the majority of the space in the tent. And it's gonna be big enough where people should be able to see it from far away. This sign cost me all in about $70. So I went to buildasign.com. I had a design already, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should, because sometimes I talk about these things in terms of like my secret weapon, what I do to like on the business aspect of things of what I do. So in this case, this is my b.a.r.e Flower Farm logo. I have a side soap company that is called b.a.r.e Soaps, and b.a.r.e Flower Farm is a sister company of b.a.r.e Soaps. If it weren't for b.a.r.e Soaps, I really would never have gotten to flowers, so I wanted to pay homage to that. And as such, I wanted to keep elements of the logo. So the b.a.r.e logo is really the circle with this, this leaf. It's actually leaf water droplet if you look closely. And I did hire someone to help me with that on 99 Design. So, but in terms of making it the b.a.r.e Flower Farm logo, I actually created the piece where layering of the flowers behind and changing the text to black. So I actually hired a local high schooler to do some drawings for me for my soap company, and I was able to take some of the stuff that she did for the flowers to put into my logo. Now, for the rest of this banner, you can see that, my soap company and even my flower company are both going to be very sustainably oriented, meaning that I'm looking to capture customers who care about sustainability. So I've got some elements here. It says like, say no to plastic bags. It's a little bit cut off in the banner, but it's enough that you know what it's talking about. There's a protect what you love over here. And then if I go all the way over here, there's even a love your planet with like a woman holding an earth, right? So right off the bat, you get the picture that this is a sustainable first type of company. And what I did was there's something called Creative Market. So for those of you who have some knowledge of Photoshop or Illustrator, some sort of design software, but you're not an artist like me, for example, like I can never create graphics like this. I go onto creativemarket.com and I buy graphics. So I pay anywhere from, I would say, $10 to $30 for a commercial license, meaning that I am allowed to use this in this type of application. I buy the license and then I take those graphics and then I put it into Photoshop and I create what I create with it. So this banner is literally made in Photoshop off of these graphics that I bought in a kit from Creative Market. And then there's also some like fun background over here. This is like a watercolor splash. I bought that in a separate package off of Creative Market and I layered it in Photoshop. So again, helpful if you know some sort of designing software to be able to do something like this. But to be honest, like learning Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop takes a little bit of time, but it does help in situations like this. So once I was able to create this banner, and it's kind of hard to tell here, but it basically says locally grown flowers, sustainably made soaps and shampoos. This, I was able to upload it to buildyoursign.com. And then I selected the outdoor version. It's basically like the third tier option for the signage. And then they basically printed it out and shipped it to me within a week. So I got this really quickly, and for $70, I'm pretty happy. I upgraded it here just to make sure that this doesn't rip, and I got the bungee cords to secure it to the tent. So just something I would totally recommend for you when you do get a vinyl sign. Now, one of the things that you may have seen me reference here is the piece around soap and shampoo bars. So I mentioned that I don't have a single stem ready yet. Every day I look at my ranunculus and I say just one bloom, please. Still have another week or so to see if it throws any stems. But to be honest, like at this point, I might get 3 stems, which I'm not going to be able to build a bouquet off of, right? So the market manager had called me, and in my application, I actually did put down that I would sell soap as a plan B in case if I didn't have enough stems. So that's soap, shampoo bars, and even some candles. And she basically called me and said that you really should consider bringing more of your soap because we think it would do really well. There's another person who brings cut flowers. Granted, they are a market bouquet, like a grocery store type of bouquet flower. So, you might be able to differentiate yourself by selling different types of flowers, but really no one's selling soap. And last time when someone did sell soap, they did really well. So after that conversation, I was like, all right, I'll make sure I incorporate soap into my sign, and I'll make sure that I have enough soap. So my soap actually has plantable packaging on it, which is a really good tie to the b.a.r.e Flower Farm piece, as well as the sustainability piece. So for the first couple of markets, I do expect to pretty much 90% be selling soap. And you know what? I've made peace with the fact that, look, I moved in about a month ago. There's really not much I can do. And I know that soap will sell because I've done it before. So that being said, the second thing I wanted to talk about was how do you convey pricing in a way that is easy? Because I think one of my main takeaways from the farmers markets that I did before, and I actually did a separate video about this, so I'll link this in the description, but I've done a lot of craft fairs and markets for soap. And I remember one of the things that I did was I had so many signs, and it was sometimes hard to tell what the pricing of things were. Like granted, you put the pricing next to each product and that's good, but high level, when you have too many signs, it's a lot for the customer to process. So this time around, I wanted to have one good sign, and I wanted to simplify things, because if you have one sign and if you have limited space, it really forces you to think, how do you want to make things not so complicated from a pricing perspective? And enter this lettering board. So I got this off of Amazon. I try not to shop on Amazon, but I had no choice in this case because it was really the only place where I could find a lettering board like this. This was $30. I am really impressed at what I got for $30. It is well built. The frame and the lettering board itself is very robust and sturdy. It actually comes with this easel stand, so therefore I could put it on here and rest it on the table at my farmer's market. You wouldn't believe how many times my signs fell over because I didn't have something like this. So that is really, really helpful. But besides that, it came in this box. So I'll have a link for this in my description. It's made by Little Hippo, and I promise this is not sponsored. I just found it on Amazon. They're a small business, so I do love that fact. But what was really cool was that it actually came with this little kit. Granted, the letters got really messed up during shipping, but there's 3 different sizes for letters. So everything is in a relatively organized place for that. And it took me a while to put the sign together because you have to find the letters. But what I love about this is that it's big, it looks professional, but like, you know, still has personality, and it lays everything out on a sign so that it is straightforward for the customer. And I'm going to have this, you know, front and center so that they know, and I'm going to supplement it by then, you know, putting a little bit more, next to each of the products to, you know, emphasize what this is, right? Because sometimes people may not realize that, oh, like this is the soap and conditioner bar place. So I'm gonna, you know, make sure there's signage for that. Now that we've talked about my sign, my pricing, I was also thinking about how are people going to pay, especially in a post-COVID type of world. So when I did farmers markets before, we accept a credit card and we accept the cash. Now, I am still unsure if I really want to accept cash because cash is not fun. I personally don't really carry cash around with me, so I have to figure out how do I get change. Like you always run out of like bills, and then you have to go to like your neighbor and get bills. So I've seen a lot of vendors who just do credit, and you know, I think that especially with COVID and everything, people are more likely to want to pay with credit card anyway. So in the past, I used the Square Reader, and when you get it, it looks something like this. This is a free Square Reader, and what you do is you plug it into your phone, and if you look over here, there's a slit, and you can just slide the credit card through that slit. You download their app, you input all of like your product information into the app, and it's pretty seamless checkout. The Square fee is 2.6% per transaction plus 10 cents. They're all relatively the same. They're like around the 3% mark if you swipe a credit card. So, you know, there's really no competition there. But if you want to upgrade to a contactless, meaning like a touch type of sensor, you do have to pay up for it, and it is not free. And I can't remember what the price of it was, but it was significant enough that we looked into other alternatives. So believe it or not, my husband last year, he is a realtor right now, but for a while he had a food consulting business, we'll call it, but he used to do donut pop-ups. So he was trying to figure out a payment plan, and he found something called Sum Up. And Sum Up is a Berlin-based company, but it's really like a Square type of solution. So we got this. The options that they have today are actually a little bit more fancier than this, but it is $19 for you to get one of these. And as you can see, it is contactless, meaning that if you have a one of those contactless credit cards or Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, whatever it is, pay you have, you know, you can do mobile pay here, and then here is the slit for the credit card to go in if you have a chip. So I like this a lot better just because of the contactless piece here. If I use the Square Reader, I still have to take that credit card. I still have to swipe it. Sometimes the swipe isn't as efficient. I have to swipe more than once, and you get the customer looking at you like, did you just charge me twice, right? So I like this because I never have to touch the credit card, and the customer is in full control. So that way, you know, they can see whether or not the transaction has gone through. And what I will do is I will have my iPad hooked up to this so that they can actually see the transaction happening. And again, you download the app. It's very similar to Square if you've used it in terms of the customer experience. And the transaction fee for this is a flat 2.75%. Now, there are situations where, because in order for something like this or a Square Reader to work, you have to have internet connection. So if you're in a spotty area, what you may end up needing to do is taking a credit card number remotely. And what that means is literally you look at the credit card and you enter into the app the credit card number manually. And typically this is considered a higher risk for the credit card company. So that's why the transaction fees are above 3%. And it's usually not super comforting to the customer for you to have to write down the credit card, or not write down, but literally type in the credit card number. So as to the best ability you can, just make sure that you have some sort of wireless, or you have like a, what do you call it, like LTE or 5G connection on your phone for that. So one other thing that I am not able to physically show you right now, but it is coming hopefully in the mail soon, is I ordered a stamp. So I use a place called simonstamps.com. You can use another place on Etsy or whatever it is, but some people on their bouquet sleeves, they stamp their logo. So I bought a stamp for that. But in general, I find that when I have signage around, just stamping the logo on that signage is a good reminder of who I am. On the bag, so, less relevant for flowers if you're giving someone a bouquet, but let's say you're selling, I don't know, something else that goes into a paper bag. Stamping the bag with your logo is always just a really good brand awareness type of reminder as to who they bought it from. I don't have my website on there because my b.a.r.e Flower Farm website is actually more geared towards YouTube viewers, or I'm going to make it geared more towards YouTube viewers versus the everyday customer. So I haven't put the website on there, but you should always consider putting your website. And, other things that I'm considering right now that I need to do is I need some sort of sheet to capture email addresses. So it's obviously pretty easy. I'm going to provide pen and paper, but trying to figure out, what kind of giveaway do I do? How do I get people to put in their email addresses type of thing? And then last but not least, tablecloth. I have a table. I have many tables already, folding tables. And I also need to get a tent. So I left my old tent at the last farmer's market I had. I donated to them, but I need a new tent. I'm probably going to go for all white, because when you have all white, it does not, when the sunlight goes through the tent, it doesn't give an off coloring. So if you chose like a funky color like pink or green, tents do come in different colors. When the light hits the tent fabric, it will change the color of your flowers, of everything on your table. So something to consider there, right? So really the next steps for me mentally are just, how am I going to set up my table in a way that is tiered so it looks full, even though I may not have a lot, I may just have soap. And then how am I going to get the customer to give me their email address so that I can communicate with them in the future, either about what I'm going to have at the market, or even if even if they want to buy soap from me online, right? So thought I would do a video on just my thought process for the farmer's market setup. I haven't seen a lot of videos like this. I've seen some videos on the farmer's market setup itself. During my first market, I will do a recap and you'll be able to see what that setup looks like. I expect throughout the farmer's markets that I'm going to do, there's going to be an evolution of setup, because you should not have a static setup. You should be observing for every single market what that flow of traffic looks like, what direction people are coming from, what is the most popular thing that they're looking at. Make sure that that's there first, right? So it's always a learning in terms of how you can optimize the flow experience, even whether you have one table versus two tables. How do you fit those tables in a way that optimizes traffic is also something that, may be different for every single market. So stay tuned for that video. I hope this one was helpful. And if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.